You want to solo carry games? You want to shut down ultimates with a single button press? You want to rank up? Well, do I have the guide for you. This is a complete gameplay guide for Ana in Overwatch Season 21. Make sure you watch the entire thing to ensure that you don't miss any certain tips or specific hero interactions. Without further ado, let's get into it. First, I will discuss positioning and sightlines. Your positioning should depend on the enemy tank line, and the sightlines you take should be dependent on the enemy DPS. This is the most important thing to remember as Ana, as you will need to change where you are and what line of sights that you take from, dependent on how they are trying to fight you. This will minimize deaths and maximize your output of value. The three main comps you need to know how to play with and against are Deathball, Dive, and Bunker. Against Deathball comps, you as Ana should be close, but not too close to your Reinhardt. This is so you can accurately hit consecutive unscoped shots, and it allows you to hit the game-winning anti-nades onto enemy Deathballs, as well as set up pins with Sleep Dart. Against and with Bunker comps, you should stick to your shields and play very close to your tanks, but utilize a natural cover and throw antis into any friendly holds. Now for the hardest comp to position against with Ana, Dive. Against Dive, you need to play far enough away from your team that it is not impossible for a Winston or D.Va to dive you, but not too far away in which you are too isolated to receive help. Now onto what affects the line of sights that you take to heal your team, the opposing DPS composition. These damage threats can be categorized into 4 categories: close range, mid-range, snipers, and flankers. We'll start with the characters to give Ana the least restrictions and move on to the most. Against close range characters, such as Reaper and Mei, you really don't have to be too cautious about the line of sights that you take, but should really try and sit back a bit more, just to avoid any unnecessary damage. Onto the mid-range characters, such as Soldier and McCree. These characters have the potential to poke down Ana and force her to use a nade for her self-heal, or can even get a pick onto her if not careful. You should be more careful when poking longer sightlines and shouldn't stay scoped for too long. Now onto snipers, who pose the second largest restrictions on the sightlines that she can take, but only the second highest in terms of threat. Characters like Hanzo and Widow find a scoped in Ana an easy target, and Ana should never poke or show her face. She should play natural cover and become a heal bot, and should only venture out once the damage threats have been dealt with. The damage type that gives Ana the most grief are flankers. When Ana is dealing with flankers, she can only go for quick-scoped shots if necessary, and should stay unzoomed. She should also not expose her positioning by shooting a scope shot when in cover, and should only peek from her safe location when necessary. Let's talk about comps and support pairings. Ana's best comp is Deathball. In Deathball, she can get massive antis, pocket your team's Reinhardt, and not be harassed by flankers or dive tanks, making this the overall best comp to run Ana. In Dive, she is more DPS orientated, but can still focus on healing, but she'll have to play around her team less and take positioning that's best for her to get in the fight and get her value. Overall, this is Ana's second best comp. Bunker is her worst comp, as she is less valuable than a Baptiste or Zenyatta, as she doesn't bring any form of shield break. However, she is still a viable option and you can still find success running this pick. With support pairings, her best options are Lucio, Mercy, and Brig. In these pairings, the other support is there to provide utility and peel for the Ana to make sure that she can focus on healing up her front line and not dying. With the other supports, Bap, Moira, and Zen, she can take more of an aggressive style, as with the other supports, except Zenyatta, the team has more healing options which allow her to take off angles for aggressive sleeps and antis. But these combos are worse, as they lack utility and peel, and only rely on healing to win fights. Now for tips in certain scenarios against certain heroes. Never use both abilities when against dive or flankers, as you really need both to survive, as without any abilities she is defenseless, and the enemy divers and flankers will notice this, and will focus her down before they come back off cooldown. Against Genji, don't sleep until he has deflected, and anti the ground, ensuring it cannot be deflected. Against D.Va, wait for her to defense matrix before you sleep. Against Zen, try to save anti for when you know Zen is going to trance and go for an aggressive anti, wasting his ult. Against Tracer, if you don't hit her sleep, you are not going to reliably kill her, so try to get to your team as fast as possible to not waste any time missing shots on her. Anyway, if you made it this far, thank you for sticking around. If you have any suggestions for the next video, leave them down below. And hey, if you're not subscribed, why not sub? Till next, see you then.
My phone lights up, but it's never you. I can't help but feel so lonely, and all these things that I can't undo.